Everyone, my name is Emma and I'm a Visitor Experience Assistant at Guelph Museums. Thanks so much for joining us for this week's Closer Look video. In this weekly video series, we have a quick discussion about a picture from our museum collection. Before you watch this video though, make sure you've done the online puzzle so you really get to know the picture we're talking about today. So today we're talking about the image that you can see on the screen. What are the first impressions that you get when you look at this image? Take a second to look closely at the picture and think about what it shows. What does it make you think about? What do you think is happening in the image? Some of the questions that we ask when we're looking at pictures like this are when is it from and what does it tell us about that time? Today we're going to start with what rather than when. What's happening in this picture? First of all, let's ask where they are. What kind of surface are they on? It looks like ice to me. What kind of ice is it? Is it a skating rink, an arena, a pond? To me, it looks like they're probably on one of the rivers here in Guelph. Now that we've figured out everyone is on a frozen river, let's see what everyone is doing. Can you tell what activity the people in the front of the picture are doing? Take a good close look at the picture and see if you can figure it out. What clues do you see? Do you notice the brooms? What about the stones? The brooms look a little different than the ones people use today for this sport, but the people in this image are curling. Now let's keep looking at the curlers. What can you observe about them? There are all sorts of fun details to notice. Take a moment to really look closely. Something I like about this picture is that you can tell what the curlers are thinking from their facial expressions. What do you think they're thinking and feeling about the game that they're playing? What else can you notice about the people who are playing? One thing I noticed is that they're all men. There are men and women watching them play, but there are only men playing. Why do you think that is? Is curling still something that only men play today? There are lots of other people on the ice. What do you think they're doing? It looks to me like they're out skating. And clearly some of them have come prepared to spend a fair bit of time outside because there's a picnic basket with some drinks in it at the front of the picture. Would you have a picnic in the snow? Do you think the clothing they're wearing looks warm enough to sit outside for a while? Now, another question we like to think about is how long ago did this scene happen? But before we figure out what part of the past this shows, we have to ask how accurate it is. That means asking if this shows something that really happened or if it's something that someone imagined happened. What do you think are some good ways to figure out if a picture shows something that actually happened? Do you think a photo or a painting is more likely to tell the truth? When you take a photograph, the thing you're taking a photo of has to actually exist right in front of you. If you're creating a painting, though, it can be completely from your imagination. That doesn't mean you can always totally trust photographs. Remember a few weeks ago when we talked about the photo of a covered wagon and a log cabin in downtown Guelph? That scene really happened, but it might have tricked you into thinking it happened a lot longer ago than it really did. Plus, there is lots of technology like Photoshop that allows people to change photos to look different from reality. But mostly, photos show something that really happened, and paintings can use a bit more imagination. Can you think of any other reasons that paintings might not be as accurate or as realistic as a photograph? What about the fact that it takes a long time to paint a painting like this one? Even if the painter was there at the river watching people skate, he couldn't ask everyone to stop what they were doing while he painted exactly what he saw. Paintings like this can take weeks to finish. Can you imagine everyone standing in the painting, freezing in place like statues for that long? So when we see paintings like this, we know that the painter had to use their imagination to figure out what a scene like this might have looked like instead of knowing exactly what it looked like. Now, one other thing that we at the museum know about this painting is that it was painted by an artist named Evan MacDonald, who was alive from 1905 to 1972. He is the same artist we talked about 2 weeks ago. Remember in previous weeks when we talked about how to figure out when an image is from? The clothing and the buildings in the picture are two good clues to figure out what time period an image is showing. In this painting, the clothing the people are wearing and the buildings in the background show us that this scene took place many years before Evan MacDonald was even born. So we know for sure that he was using his imagination to figure out what a scene like this might have looked like. So now that we know that this painting comes from someone's imagination, do you think we can use it to learn about history? Does it tell us anything about life when this image was painted? What kind of research do you think the artist did before painting this scene? If you were going to draw or paint a picture of something that happened before you were born, how would you figure out what that painting should look like? Would you talk to someone who was alive then? read a story about that time, look at pictures of the clothing people wore back then, or just use your imagination? It's clear that Evan MacDonald did lots of research to make sure the clothing in the buildings looked right. But it seems like he probably used his imagination to picture what it must have been like to go curling on the river. Thanks for joining us today for our final Closer Look video. If you haven't already, head back to our Museums Everywhere page for the other Closer Look puzzles and discussions. And if today's discussion has inspired you to draw a picture from the past, we would love to see it. Have an adult post it to social media and tag @Guelph Museum.